The 2023 transfer portal was loaded. You had Travis Hunter, who went from Jackson State to Colorado, Denver Harris, who went from A&M to LSU, and Adonai Mitchell, who went from Georgia to Texas. Those were the top 3 guys in the portal, and at number 4, you had a guy by the name of Ernest Hausmann. You probably don't really know much about him because he didn't really do anything in 2024. He was a linebacker from Nebraska who was considered the 4th best player in the portal in 24/7 Sports, but sadly his 2023 season did not go according to plan. He was probably the most underwhelming player in the top 10 of all these transfers and is a guy that has largely gone forgotten. I'm not necessarily saying his career is a bust, but in today's video, I want to examine why the number 4 transfer in the country had such a limited first year at Michigan, who he is, and what his potential could look like in the future. It's sort of a mini what happened to video that will have a part 2 down the road, but for now, we're just going to go for it. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about Ernest Hausmann. Ernest Hausmann is not like most football recruits. He had a pretty crazy story as a childhood and actually didn't even grow up in the United States. He ended up growing up in a small village in the country of Uganda and had a disabled leg. He'd leave his family at an early age, and he thinks it's a way that God protected him from a ton of trauma. He ended up joining a host family in the United States and was motivated to make it. He said he wouldn't trade any of the difficult moments, and they shaped him into who he was today. He said, quote, "The words I use are, remember where I came from, and I don't want to forget where I came from." As I said, he was born in a small village in Uganda with more than 10 siblings, and he wasn't sure why he was the one chosen to come to the US, but that fortune drove him. Nebraska was the state he called home since he moved there as a 5-year-old, and his path to college football had long odds. It was always Hausmann's dream, and his adoptive parents were lifelong Cornhusker fans, and they started going to a game every year around the time he was in 4th grade. Eventually he got to Columbus High School, and with the Discoverers, tons of Division I offers would eventually flow in. He would finish his 3-year high school career with 190 tackles, 16 TFLs, and 3 interceptions. He's also a star on offense, catching 72 passes for 1,053 yards and 14 total touchdowns. Eventually he would switch positions on defense each and every year, from DB to outside linebacker, then to inside linebacker. That's where he would be slated to play in college football, and his coach Craig Williams, who he's known since he moved to the US, said his impact stretched way beyond his play and would continue to shape the program for years to come. After his junior season, Hausmann got offers from Iowa, Arizona State, Boston College, Kansas, K-State, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Virginia. Sorry I ran through that really quickly. Despite living most of his life in Nebraska and his adoptive parents' loyalty to the Cornhuskers, once the offers started to flow in, he was actually looking to go out of state. He wanted to expand his horizons, but then the in-state team went over. He decided to commit to Nebraska's football team and became the first commit in their 2022 recruiting cycle. According to 24/7 Sports, Ernest was a 3-star recruit, the number 65 linebacker, and the 677th best player in the class of 2022. So how would he end up doing in Lincoln? Well, let's take a look. When he arrived, he gets some immediate buzz and actually got an opportunity to start half the season. He played his first career game against Northwestern in Ireland, and then throughout the rest of the year would expand his role. Against number 3 Michigan in early November, he ended up having 10 tackles and 1 sack. He was actually the best defensive player in the Big House that day, and the Michigan staff, fans, and JJ McCarthy all knew who Ernest Hausmann was. He'd end up having an even better game the following week as he had 12 tackles against Wisconsin, and then would finish the year with 6 tackles against Iowa. His 2022 freshman season was great as he finished with 54 tackles with 1 sack. The majority of his work came in that back half of the season, and everyone saw the immense potential that he had. He decided to enter the 2023 transfer portal, and as I said, he finished 4th behind Adonai Mitchell, Denver Harris, and Travis Hunter. He was wanted from pretty much every school around the country, and he said he wanted to go to a school where he could maximize his potential and play for national championships. Where would he go? Well, he could have remained with the Huskers or chosen a different school with more playing time, but he said he felt at home in Ann Arbor and wanted to compete for championships. After meeting with their strength and conditioning coach Ben Herbert, the decision to join the Wolverines became very clear to him. He decided to commit to Michigan, and the Wolverines got a very highly touted player. According to PFF, Hausmann played the 4th most snaps of any true freshman at 476, and that's a lot of experience for a player headed into his 2nd year. At the time, Michigan was coming off back-to-back Big Ten titles, and he said that they offered the best opportunity to win championships and conference titles. The fact that Michigan returned both of their starting inside linebackers of Junior Colson and Michael Barrett did not dissuade him from going there, as he said he welcomed competition and was ready to fight. Apparently the coaching staff even told him to go after one of their starting spots, and that would motivate Ernest to play his best football. But many were worried that Ernest would not really see the field much in 2023, and that is exactly what would happen. While he would appear in pretty much every regular season game, he really didn't make much of an impact. He did have 5 tackles against both Minnesota and Indiana, but his best game was Week 1 against East Carolina. Luckily, his playing time would go up in their Big Ten championship game against number 16 Iowa, as he did have his best game of his season there, with 8 tackles and a 26-0 win over the Hawkeyes. In terms of the college football playoff, he'd make 1 tackle against number 4 Bama, and then 2 tackles in their national championship victory over Washington. In total, Ernest was somewhat underwhelming. He only finished with 46 tackles, and was much more of a reserve player. A lot of that was due to players in front of him on the depth chart, but on paper, without a deeper dive, many would have considered Ernest Hausmann a bust last year. He was the number 4 player in the portal, and he didn't really add much to Michigan. They would have done just fine without him, but going into 2024, I think Housman could be one of the best players on the defense. He showed that he's ready to get shot out of a cannon, and he's someone I'm going to be keeping my eye on. He could be good enough to declare for the draft after this year, and I'm going to be rooting for the guy after his crazy story coming out of high school and out of Uganda. I know plenty of Michigan fans will probably comment down below that I shouldn't have called him a bust, or that the title is misleading or something, but on paper, technically, he did not live up to his top 5 transfer status, and after a deeper dive, that is why. I think he has pretty unlimited potential, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But what do you guys think? If you're a Michigan fan, what do you think of Ernest Hausmann? How do you think he'll do this upcoming season? And who's another transfer I could take a look at next who did not live up to their transfer portal hype? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.